Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, January the 11th, 2023.
January 11th. It is January 11th.
It is January 11th. How are you, fine gentlemen? We are here with, as always, RadioPete and Harry Lug Nutz. How are you, fine gentlemen, on this fine 2023 evening?
Fantastic.
I'm very excited.
Better than TCU.
Better than TCU, yeah.
Well, that's not saying a whole lot.
No,
Although,
it's not.
Look, TCU had maybe the best. They had a really big upset win, and the rest is history.
They had a touchdown. Come on. All right, come on. They did score.
Listen,
they did score. They had a score. So
the history of lousy blowout championship games, is intact with this latest debacle.
Right. And this is the biggest blowout in championship games.
Right. However,
ever.
Most likely, I'm going to say, the most exciting semifinal games ever in the history of the BCS.
You might say that.
Two great, amazing games.
You didn't think you were going to get another amazing game.
Do you think that the Final Four in basketball this year will have as much scoring as the Final Four in football?
Maybe not. Maybe not. By the way, NBA All-Star voting open now.
Ooh.
Opens right now.
Yeah.
It starts on this show tonight.
So
That's right.
Start clicking. Yeah, they called me and said, you got to announce it. We can't start until you announce it. So.
Start sending in those votes for Obi Toppin.
Start sending them. Not Obi. No.
Kevin Knox.
Kevin Knox. Exactly.
Hey, what's his name? Had 44 the other night.
Hasn't everybody had 44?
44 White Castle?
Points.
Oh,
44 points.
Yeah, I gotcha.
What's the guy's name on the Knicks? Peebo Bryson?
I don't know.
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson.
Peebo Bryson. I knew it.
Peebo Bryson. Peebo Bryson is the starting forward for the...
Peebo had 43. Jalen Brunson had 44.
Gotcha. There you go.
Peebo Bryson.
I'm
I'm guessing a yacht rock singer, right?
It's an R&B singer from the 80s.
Yeah, yacht rock. Yeah,
that's not yacht rock. It's like
it could fit into that.
Love R&B love songs, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it might merge into yacht rock in the next couple 5 or so years, maybe. But no, because it's too. I want to say what you say, ooey gooey or whatever. It's too love songy to be yacht rock.
Yeah, can't be
yacht rock at least has a little bit of a whatever to it. So anyway,
I don't know. All right.
Anyway. So on just as long as we mentioned it, just to wrap up talking about the national championship, Stetson Bennett, 29-3 as a starter for Georgia.
Yeah.
Of course he's 75 years old, but that's besides the point.
Is he?
He's 20, 25, 24?
25. It's 25, yeah.
Perfect.
What should we call it? Back-to-back champs. Last time was Alabama. What, in 04, whenever it was? Or no. 11,
Actually,
12,
interesting you bring that up because I have a little list I want to talk to you guys about.
Go for
it. All right. So I think there have been 8 times that we've had back-to-back NCAA champions.
Fair enough.
6 of them since 1970.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go back and list the QBs here. So, of course, Stetson Bennett, Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
A.J. McCarron,
mm-hmm.
3 times, 2010, 12, and 13.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Leinart in 03 and 04, although the 03 title was vacated because of Reggie Bush and all that.
Right.
But they still won.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Frazier, Nebraska, 94-95.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma did it 74-75 with slinging Steve Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nebraska again, 70-71, Jerry Taggy.
So what we're trying to say is all of these back-to-back quarterbacks have never. None of them even made it to a backup in the NFL.
Matt Leinart probably had the biggest career of all of them.
Matt Leinart, and I think
like
McCarron is
McCarron.
McCarron
was a holder, so he was a holder of field goals.
So good for Stetson Bennett, but it means nothing.
Matt Leinart went to Arizona, right? He was on Arizona for a while.
For some reason, though, 5 years down the road, I see Stetson Bennett being the third string quarterback for the 49ers as they go to the NFC Championship game.
He'll be backing up Brock Purdy.
And
Sam Darnold.
Yeah. You know when the last time the TCU won a national championship?
Have they ever?
Yeah.
1923.
Close, but not really. But closer.
1945.
In between.
1936.
1931.
1938.
1938. Wow.
1938.
And now, how was it decided back then?
By flipping a coin.
Chuck wagon.
Nice.
TCU wins. There you go. And you use that same coin today.
Chuck wagon race.
You beaten by the coin.
That's right.
Chuck wagon race.
Well, listen, I picked Michigan.
I don't know why.
Well, I want to see something interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I like Georgia. I'm happy for Georgia. Mm-hmm. Anytime anyone who's not Alabama wins, I'm fine with that. But I kind of want to see.
I don't know if you were watching the other night, if you saw Nick Saban as a broadcaster. You and I did. He picked Michigan. Whatchamacallit, do you see Nick Saban? He wasn't too happy that Alabama wasn't winning.
No, but in Pete's defense, didn't Pete also pick TCU?
He said he'd like to see TCU, but he thinks Michigan's going to win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of playoffs in football, the real football.
Yes. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Well, the playoffs start this week. A couple days.
They start in
And there's a Monday night playoff game.
Yep. 2 Saturdays, 3 Sundays, 1 Monday. So we are now at the point in the year where we actually, with regular television, can watch every game.
Well, that's nice.
So, not that we will, but I will. But to a point anyway. I might have to miss some of the Saturday games. A little bit of the end of the first one, the beginning of the second one. I got to do something in the middle there, but in any event, I will be tuned in.
And that was John's weekend itinerary update.
Pretty much. So, beer is involved. I'll leave it at that. But
this past week, it was more interesting than I thought it was going to be, and it's almost as if a couple teams learned how to play their starters for a little bit, and still look like they weren't playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. That is true. They did do that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Giants first, really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the fact that the third string, for all intents and purposes, third string team was playing the first string Eagles team and gave him a hard time.
They gave him a hard time in the end, but it was sort of like the Eagles were dominating, and then they were kind of like, all right, is this game over yet?
Trust me, Nick Sirianni did not want to just win that game by 6 points. He wanted to win that game going away by the beginning of the third quarter so he could sit everybody.
But you're assuming that coaches have any say over their players these days in the NFL.
That's true too.
Yeah. Look, I think the NFC is completely up for grabs. I think that I said this, I think, in some private text. The one team, other than Dallas and Tampa, obviously, the one team that the Giants I think can beat is Minnesota. I'm not as sold on Minnesota 4 weeks, 5 weeks since I think they peaked. Mm-hmm. And while I don't think the Giants have necessarily peaked, I think there's still a little bit of room where they might get a little better. I think that they've shown some consistent improvement, and their defense looks good. And I think one of the takeaways from Sunday's game is if something, God forbid, happens and you got to put some people in there, the Giants are deeper than you think they are, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, that is true. And they just signed another.
The Vikings are just kind of what we've been saying for the last 7 or 8 or 9 weeks of the season. We really don't know. Are they as good as 13-4? No, it seems like they're kind of soft, right? They win these one-score games somehow,
and then they get blown out by the Packers.
Right? But maybe probably shouldn't be in that many one-score games. So,
right,
I think they're beatable too.
I think it would be I think it would be an upset. Obviously, Vegas sees it that way as well. But look, I think the Giants, you have to chalk it up as an incredible improvement of a season, a great debut for a head coach and a new regime, and I think a lot of things sort of went the Giants' way. I think they played some teams at the right time this year. But I will say this, I think the Giants have actually gotten better in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last week is a little hard to sort of factor in there, other than the one thing it tells you is, maybe the Giants are deeper than you think they are. But I do think that they've gotten a little better. I feel there's a little bit more of a confidence when they're in a close game. I feel like they're almost there. Like they can win a close game. If they really had to, they could. This is true.
And I do agree with that. I think it's going to be a good game on Sunday. I really think it's going to be a good game. I think can the Giants win? Yeah, they can win. Will they? Oh, we'll see. I don't know. But, I hope. I'm going to certainly hope they are. But
it doesn't bode well that they're going up against the team that wins all of their close games this season.
Right.
So,
but it does bode well, though. I mean, history has shown that whenever a Giants team that makes the playoffs plays a team in the playoffs that they lost to in the regular season, 9 times out of 10 they win in the playoffs. So, what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. But
absolutely fine.
I think that they well, no, sort of. Listen, in the NFL,
that means less than TCU winning.
You got to sort of ride those streaks, right? A streak is a streak until it ends. So,
but a streak, you can't have a 10-year gap in a streak.
No. This is very true. It's very true.
That's not a streak anymore. That's a generational shift.
True story. Well, we will see what happens. A couple of Giants notes heading into that wild card game. The Giants signed James Washington, former Cowboys wide receiver, that Cowboys cut and brought back in and out when they signed T.Y. Hilton. But they signed him to the practice squad. I don't know if they're going to elevate him before the game. I think it would be stupid, but who knows? But they got more depth at the wide receiver position, more 7th and 8th and 9th player depth at the wide receiver position, but whatever you want to call it. Anyway, and just to throw this out there really quick, we'll talk more about this, further into the playoffs and in the offseason. But, I don't want to get in now to talking about Daniel Jones and re-signing him and all of that. But there, really quick, there was this, there's a story breaking, I think it was today, that DeAndre Hopkins wants to trade from the Cardinals. Shocker. And everybody's saying, the perfect place would be for the Giants. Why would the Giants even entertain that?
It would have been great in 2016.
Sure, but right now he's injury prone. He's on the bottom. He's on the other side of his career, and he's going to want a big contract. Why the hell would they want to do that? No, and Joe Shane's not going to do that either. Joe Shane's not going to do
because the Giants have in the past overpaid aging receivers.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Shane's going to do that though. So
no.
Yeah. So anyway, and one more thing, CBS gave their rookie head coaches, if you will, grades, and Dable got an A-, and he was tied for number 1 in grading with Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson for the Jags also got an A-. So, but anyway, so that was nice.
There's a lot of teams that are considerably better this year, and some of them, in fact, going to the playoffs, and the Giants and the Jags and
very true
Lions amongst them. So I don't know. It's Coach of the Year is an official award from somebody, right?
Coach of the Year is an official award, yeah. So, and I mean, it comes from the NFL, so it's just like the MVP award. So
I think Dable's got to be right in that mix, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody said somewhere, a couple people actually said it. Nick Sirianni deserves it because look at what he did with the Eagles. Look at the Eagles. Look at what he has a up and down talented team. He should do that. The Giants don't, and Dable did what he did. So yeah, that's just ridiculous talk. But anyway, all right. Then there's the other New York team.
The Bills.
You ready to do this? And we've got Joe and Coach Sala and everybody else in here. They're going to hop on.
Swaggy Sauce Gardner. How you doing, brother? It's Joe Douglas. How you doing, brother? It's Joe Douglas.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. You ready to join the family?
Hey, man.
Hey, man, I'm going to turn you over to Coach Sala.
Hey, man.
Hey, man, congrats, man. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Stop! Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Family.
Was that Benny Hill mixed in there?
Yeah,
That was the Benny Hill music. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. Good editing there.
Well, listen, I think we talked a couple times about the Jets season is a success and the Giants season is a success, and of course Giants getting into the playoffs. Of course, you're going to say yes, and you guys said yes before, and I sort of said the same thing about the Jets, but I have to tell you, the Jets season is a disappointment because right now they're a clown show. They are just one of the worst franchises as far as everything except they have a good defense. Everything else is in disarray, and they're a nightmare. This quarterback thing is who knows how it's going to be resolved. I mean, they're the Jets. They'll probably bring back Geno Smith since he's a free agent, or maybe try and sign Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I don't trust them to deal with the situation well, and I didn't have unrealistic expectations for the New York Football Jets. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I've heard some people say he deserves to be fired.
That's just stupid.
No.
That's just stupid.
I understand this. I understand the sentiment, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's completely fair to him. But I have to say, starting out the way they started out and being 7-4 and then losing 6 straight games and the nightmare. And I know the offensive line was a nightmare and all that. Well, it's just, it has to be classified as a disappointment.
Well, they were winning those early games because of their running back who got hurt. Yeah. Was out for the year. Yeah. So I think personally they lost their best offensive player, which is a big loss. Now, their offense is a mess. I will say this. The Jets are the best ugly team I've ever watched. I watched that Miami Jets game only because I was out somewhere and it was on next to me on one of the closest television screen. And it was the most painful game I've ever watched in my life. But what it tells me is that the Jets made it really, really hard for a pretty good playoff-bound Dolphins team to move the football at all. Mm-hmm. And they, despite Joe Flacco looking like he's ready for not only retirement, but the retirement home, despite the fact that their offensive play calling makes the Giants look dynamic, mm-hmm. They almost won that game.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah. But they didn't.
They did. But I think the Jets need a new offensive coordinator. I think that Saleh needs to needs to get somebody in there who they can get in there now, get some talent of their choice, and I think they need to trade for a quarterback. And maybe it is Derek Carr for the Jets. Maybe I think that would be better than dealing with another season of quarterback roulette.
Right.
But there's a lot of talent on that defensive side.
Jets, there's talent. There are improvements. There are positives.
And look, how many games did the Jets win this year?
7.
They won 7 games. They could have won 8. They won what? 3 last year?
4.
They did win 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's an improvement. That's what I thought the Giants would be this year.
Yes, and you're right. And when you look at that kind of metric, and I was hoping, I said, I think at the beginning of the season, I was hoping they would win 8 games, but getting close to that, yes, that's good, and that's a success of sorts. But the way things are right now,
they finished.
Yeah, the way they finished and the whole quarterback controversy, and now there's all this talk about whether, Woody Johnson, whether Zach Wilson was Woody's pick, and is he interfering in the team despite everyone not saying that he doesn't. There's aspects of the franchise that are, as I said, they're a clown show right now. And that's not making me happy, because that was one of the things I wanted to see, is them not be so much the Jets.
Yeah, the whole making a list or whatever, checking it twice, taking names when somebody. I mean, Saleh
taking receipts.
There you go.
Taking receipts, telling Zach. Saleh.
I'm not a big. I don't know if Saleh's a good coach or not. I can't answer that question. I don't think there's enough of an. I don't think he's bad.
I think his players play for him,
but he's an odd duck.
Yeah,
and where I mean, he's a great fit for the Jets. They're not going to get Sean. They're not going to get Sean Payton.
Yeah,
but they could get one of these younger offensive coordinators in there who could do something because they have talent. They just don't have a lot of it at the skill positions.
No, look, they've got a really good running back who got hurt in Breece Hall. I think Garrett Wilson was the top rookie receiver.
Garrett Wilson is, and I was going to say that too. Garrett Wilson is just as explosive as a player as Breece Hall was. But the problem was that Breece Hall, running the way he did, left many other opportunities for Garrett Wilson to, the running game leads to the passing game and vice versa. So.
Even though he didn't have the same kind of yardage in the second half of the season as he did in the first half of the season, what was the big difference in the Giants' offense? A guy named Saquon.
Right.
That changes things, right? When you have a good running back. So obviously, yes. But the Jets, like going into this offseason, the Jets just have so much stuff to deal with that
less than they did last year.
True story.
Yes, defensively a lot less.
Saleh
was on the radio. Saleh was on the radio the other day, and he was spinning. I can't tell if he's just. It was word salad, but I don't know if it was genius word salad or whether he was just spinning his wheels and hoping that no one would notice he was saying nothing. But he was talking about Zach Wilson.
He should probably not improvise.
No, he was talking about Zach Wilson trying to find out who he is, and whatever. It was a bunch of. He would make a good a good press secretary. For the White House. The White House press secretary comes out and says a lot of words and doesn't say
it doesn't say anything. Yeah,
he is the press secretary. He's the press secretary for the New York Jets.
But I don't know if he's just blah, 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 or whether he's brilliantly crafting stuff that sounds like, because you hear it and you go, oh, and then you think about what he actually said later and you go, what does that even mean? So I don't know. It's disappointing. I wanted to see them. Again, not be the Jets. I want to see them do something. I want to see them overcome the odds.
They were close in a couple of those games that they lost.
They were close,
but had they won those games, they'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they didn't.
So,
but we'll get them next year.
There you go.
Take any team not in the playoffs. Had they won those games, they'd be in the playoffs.
Well, no, I mean,
no, I'm just one or two. I just meant.
It's
team went 0-17. Had they won just 10 of those games, they lost. They'd be in the playoffs.
Like the Jets, had they won those games. Arizona, had they won those games.
All right.
So the fact that they were close maybe makes it seem worse than it actually
exactly.
Well, speaking of playoffs, maybe we should discuss this week's playoffs.
I think you guys are. I think you guys are correct. I think it's time for beaten by the coin. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I think it is.
By the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
What happened to the beginning of that?
I don't know. I got to find out.
All right. Well, I think we can call the past couple of weeks, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. I mean, my venture into trying to catch up and make some ground, which, again, had I just picked the teams that I obviously thought were going to win the games, we'd still be in the same position that we are. So it really wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah, you're not getting help from Harry and I. In terms of us doing poorly, so that you can make up some ground, but
right. So at this point, I'm back to just staying ahead of the coin, so I don't come in last. Is what I want to do.
Yeah, you're 8 games ahead of the coin right now.
So I'm
you might want to Yeah,
that's pretty safe.
Although the Coins having a banner year. So John 1-5 yesterday in George Costanza opposite world, and 53-51. Harry and I both went 5-1. Thank you, Detroit. So I still have a 2-game lead over you. And yes, you did pick Green Bay. And
yes, I did.
And the coin is. I mean,
talk about a team that just blew it.
Yeah, well, actually, we're gonna revisit something from several months ago in a little bit here, and the coin is 46-58. So, again, respectable for the coin, but coming up, they're coming. The coin's coming for you, John.
Coin's coming for me. All right.
So this week we have 6 games on the slate. Mm-hmm. We will start it off with the surprising Seattle Seahawks being hosted by the San Francisco Giants and whoever their quarterback is this week.
Exactly.
Justin McGurdy.
I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna pick San Francisco because I love them.
Gotcha.
Those are my boys.
There you go.
Yeah, the Purdy wagon does not stop this week. Not with Seattle, not at home. Yes, 49ers win.
49ers.
And the coin says heads.
Everybody's on board.
Home team. There we go. Sure, now the coin wants it. All right. The Los Angeles Clippers against the also surprising Jacksonville Jaguars. Who wants to go first?
I think this is the toughest one. I think there's 2 games this week are really tough to pick. I think this is one of them.
John, I'll go first.
Go first.
I'll go first. Chargers are winning this game.
The Chargers. Harry?
It's going to be, I'm not going to elaborate, but it's going to be a close game, but the Chargers will win the game.
The Chargers are one of these teams. They seem to screw up at least one of us every week. I don't know. I'm going to take the Chargers, but it feels a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to take the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree. They're isn't the semi-recent history of the Chargers, right? A talented team. We know about Herbert or Hebert. No, it's Herbert, right?
It's Herbert, yeah. Bobby Hebert was years ago. So.
Yeah. Very talented, but they always seem to crap the bed at the right time. Or the wrong time, if you're
the wrong time, yeah, right.
They haven't really beaten anybody they shouldn't have beaten, and that's what concerns me about them. And the Jags
are playing with house money right now. Trevor Lawrence is, I think, going to into and probably will continue to turn into a good pick.
Yeah,
and they've gotten themselves straight. I'm going to take Jacksonville,
but it's in Los Angeles, right?
No, it's in Jacksonville. Jacksonville. The Chargers are a wild card team. Jacksonville won the South.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stick with the Chargers. 9-8. This is the one This is the one I don't feel great about.
All right, I'm going to take Jacksonville, and the coin agrees with you guys. The coin says tails.
Lovely.
Taking the Clippers. Mm-hmm. All right, Harry, Buffalo, Miami. No Tua, I think, right?
Who knows? Who knows with any of these quarterbacks? You won't find out until the second half. I'm going to take Buffalo. I'm going to take Buffalo. Yeah. Miami does not look like a great team right now. They look like they're heading in the wrong direction. I'll tell you though, Buffalo's beatable, but not this week.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I believe Tua's been.
I honestly don't. I honestly doesn't really matter.
He has been ruled out as of today.
There you go.
Due to the concussion protocols and all that jazz.
There you go.
So, I think we're all taking Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what Mr. Coin says. I like the away team, which is Miami.
There you go.
So there you go. All right, Giants, Minnesota. I'm going to let you guys pick since you're Giants fans. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll let you guys go first.
I'll go first. It's going to be a good game. Giants will win the game.
Wow.
Giants, all right. Wow. I'm going to let Harry go second.
Oh, why don't you go second, Mr. In the Lead?
All right. I am going to agree. I'm going to agree. I think Minnesota is due to lose a close game, and I think the Giants have a lot of confidence, and I think they're gonna eke this one out.
I think the Vikings.
Now, does that make it easier for you, Harry? Or
No.
Does that make it harder?
No, I think the Vikings win. I think it's going to be really close, and I hope the Giants win, but I think the Vikings win.
All right. Coin says heads, which is the home team, and Vikings. So there you go.
You and the coin, Harry.
In the coin. All right. Baltimore and Cincinnati. Harry, we'll let you pick this one first.
Who knows if Lamar Jackson's going to play? I'm not sure it's going to make a big difference. Although these teams are more evenly matched than you think. I think Cincinnati wins.
Cincinnati.
I'm tempted to take Baltimore, but I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they have the goods, even with Lamar. And if they lose, he's more likely to leave.
Go to the Jets.
And then he can go to the Jets, yeah. So I'll take the Bengals.
There you go.
And the coin says heads. So we're all in agreement there. And then Dallas and Tampa Bay. I'm the Dallas fan, of course.
But
this has to, like, Tom Brady has to win the Super Bowl this year, right? I mean, winning the division with an under 500 record, right? How terrible they looked early on. They're not the favorites, right? Nobody's really
favorites. They're probably they're probably last.
Right, that's what I mean. Nobody's really talking about him. No one's saying he's washed up, but blah, blah, blah.
I think they've got one playoff win in them, and if they're going to win against any team, I think it's Dallas.
Yeah, I think so, too. Dak Wilson, I don't know he needs new contact
Dallas again, I don't know which Dallas team is going to show up. Dallas looked horrible last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wilson
Tampa Bay didn't look much better, though. It wasn't like Tampa Bay's like firing on all cylinders. And
no.
Well, Brady got benched, remember. So,
well, yeah.
All right, so we're both
they didn't
Tampa
need to
Bay.
win.
So
I'm gonna go out on a limb and take Tampa Bay. What the fuck?
I'm gonna take them too.
I'm taking them. We're in agreement.
All right. Let's see what the coin says.
Oh, Jerry Jones and the confidence that he breathes.
The coin likes Tampa Bay. How about that?
Wow, even the coin likes Tampa.
Well, there you go.
So we have 1, 2, 3 games where we're all in agreement. And Harry and I have two disagreements. So either we'll be tied up. We could be tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Harry and I have one disagreement. You and I have one disagreement.
So I could be a little farther ahead or maybe tied up. So we're pretty much exactly in the same boat as we were.
Pretty much not going to change.
Yeah.
We'll probably each lose one of the games that we differ on, and
we'll end up,
and it'll level it out. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, I got to shut off my phone here. Podcaster's mistake.
Yeah.
All right. Is that all the games?
That's all the games. There's only 6 games. 6 games this week. 4 games the following week. 2 games the week after that. No games the week after that. Well, let's get the Pro Bowl, and then the Super Bowl. So
Which is on April 23rd this year, right?
Super Bowl is April 23rd. Yes, April 23rd.
Yeah. Nice springtime weather.
Springtime Super Bowl.
So
they're going to play in shorts. They're going to play in shorts.
So they can play like in Chicago or Indianapolis or New York, and like people won't be all complaining about that.
Exactly. So, on that note, I did say they had benched Brady. They this was put up. This was pretty funny. I just wanted to show you this. I forget to put
when he says benched him.
There you go. That's a great picture.
They didn't bench him because of his play. They benched him so that he didn't die.
Correct. Yeah. Buccaneers bench Tom Brady for Blaine Gabbert. But that picture is great. Folks, if you're listening to the audio podcast, tune in, go to Facebook or YouTube and look at about 34 minutes and 30 seconds into the
This
into
is
the
what
show.
you'll see in Tom Brady's.
This is
2039.
It looks like Adam Vinatieri with Brady's face, right?
A little bit.
I thought it looked like.
Actually, I thought it looked like Dennis Quaid with Brady's
I
face.
thought it looked like Janet Reno with Brady's face.
Yeah.
Maybe the Will Ferrell version of Janet Reno.
There
And you know who actually put that back up? You know who he does look like in that picture?
What's that?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
It does.
Not bad.
It does.
Not bad.
Jamie Lee Curtis or Tom Brady? You decide.
Maybe she'll play him in the NFL Films biopic when he finally retires.
That's right.
Exactly.
Who's going to retire first? Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis did retire from Halloween movies, right?
This last one, the 37th one, was the last one.
Yeah,
so.
I think,
or so they say,
or so she says, until she goes home and gets sick of her wife or husband, and then.
Well, I don't know if she actually watched the last one, she might just go, "I'm done." I mean, it was bad even by Halloween movie standards.
Exactly.
Well, kind of like the Tampa Bay season this year, yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, it was under 500.
There you go. I just wanted to bring up. I know, Harry, you got to bail at some point.
I got to leave here in a few minutes.
All right. So until you do, Green Bay. We talked about the Green Bay Detroit game. You brought that up before. Detroit. You know what? I mean, am I shocked that Detroit beat Green Bay? No, I really thought Green Bay was going to pull that one out because they were home. Had the game been to Detroit, then I would have said definitely Detroit's winning the game. But did you see the intros when they were doing? You know how at the beginning of the game they do the intros for the offensive line and defense and everything else. Jamal Williams, running back for Detroit, was actually originally a Packer, and now he's on Detroit. When he came on, to do his intro, he said his name was Swag Kaskage, and he was the leader of the hidden village of the Den. So I thought that was pretty funny, and apparently everybody else did too. I thought it was funny. So, anyway,
the only football introductions I've ever liked are Key and Peele's.
Well,
those are the best.
but this was one of them. Right. This was from that. It was like it was like a pull of that.
Right.
Anyway, what you got? He did break Barry Sanders' single season record, TD record, with the Lions, with 17 TDs. Barry Sanders had 16. Granted, 17 games versus 16 games, but so there'll be an asterisk in Detroit. But he did win Offensive Player of the Week for last week too. So.
Let me ask you guys a quick question. Yes or no? Just yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Does Aaron Rodgers retire?
No.
I'm going to say yes. I think he's done.
Really?
I don't think he has any...
Done with Green Bay or just done?
I don't think he's going to play in the NFL anymore.
He's done.
Where's he going to go? He's not going to go anywhere.
Jets.
Why would he go to the Jets?
Well, Brett Favre did.
The Jets were a lot better, and Brett Favre was a lot more desperate.
Yeah, but the Jets are...
Plus, Brett Favre...
Plus, the Jets had Eric Mangini, too.
And Brett Favre's flip phone looked really great, and the lighting was perfect in the Jets locker room.
That makes sense, I suppose.
All right, well, I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So this has been kicking around, of course, because we can't let anything wait until like the end of the season or whatever.
No.
So the Bears, of course, have the number 1 draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm. Because of Houston beating the Colts on Sunday.
Right.
Otherwise, Houston.
So there's a lot of talk now about the Bears and what do they do with Justin Fields? Some people are saying trade him
to the Jets
because there's some good quarterbacks in this draft, and other people are saying no, use your draft pick to put some players around him, or trade the number 1 draft pick for some picks that you think you can still get some good weapons to use around him.
I think Justin Fields was going to be a fun. I mean, is he going to be the best quarterback since sliced bread? No. And sliced bread played a damn good quarterback in his day.
Slice. It depends on what kind of bread you're slicing.
Right. So, yeah. But in any event, I don't think you get rid of Justin Fields. I think you trade the first pick and you get a bunch of picks back and you build around Justin Fields.
Well, how many games did Justin Fields play in this year?
A decent amount of them, right?
I think so.
Wasn't he out for the last couple of games or no?
Possibly. I really didn't pay much attention after a while.
Well, the knock that some of the guys are saying is he's an athlete who happens to play quarterback more than he is a good quarterback. So I don't, which of course has a tint of racism to it, right? Because that's sort of a standard that people would say about African Americans, right? Oh, they don't make good quarterbacks. They're good athletes, but they can't play quarterback. So I don't think it was said in that way because there were some African Americans that were saying it. These are analysts on the NFL Network and some of the talk shows, and they said, no, I think he's a great athlete and he's dynamic, but he doesn't really throw that well, and I don't know if he's a really good quarterback. So some of them are saying, yeah, trade Justin Fields and draft
Justin Fields didn't play last week. He played the week before against the Lions.
Look, I think
he's the reason the Bears won any games this season.
Yeah.
That's
maybe
obvious,
he also lost the Packers game. He kind of gave that one away. I'll say this. I think you could take Justin Fields and a bunch of other quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and they're mediocre on the Bears and maybe a hyped MVP candidate on the Eagles. I don't think there's a big difference between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields. I really don't.
I don't think there's a big. Liked Fields better, actually.
Yeah, I don't think there's a big difference between Justin Fields and Tua. I don't think there's a big difference between Justin Fields and any of the most of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that on the right team, he could be a really successful quarterback.
Yeah, that was one of the arguments for him. You look at Jalen Hurts, right? And you go, well, look what happens when you put talent around him.
Right. If you're saying that,
there's no quarterback in this draft that you're going to draft. If you trade Jalen Hurts and draft a quarterback number one, who's going to come in and do better than Jalen Hurts. In fact, you're also you're just regurgitating the same thing. So if you could trade Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and get, somebody, an amazing amount of talent or draft capital, then I think you do it.
Yeah.
But if not, I think you have to try to. I think he deserves another season or two to see what he can do with talent around him.
He's had 2 years.
And this whole argument that he's a
shitty team,
great athlete. Well, good. Yes, he is they're all great athletes. I mean, Daniel Jones does not look as graceful running the football as Justin Fields, but I think beat him in yardage this year, rushing. Rushing.
That argument is he's never going to be a great quarterback.
Right.
He's a great athlete, but he doesn't have the tools to be.
The thing is on the right, we've proven this over and over again. There are certain teams that you can build around where you do not need a great quarterback to be successful. Do you need at least a good quarterback to win the big game most of the time, not all of the time? So I think the Bears have bigger holes to fill than Justin Fields.
Absolutely. This is not the year to do that.
And in fact, I think he was probably better than people thought he was going to be this year.
Yeah. And with a guy like Fields, if you have a quarterback who's not particularly mobile, let's say, and doesn't throw very well, you don't have much. There's a lot to work on, right? Maybe he's got talent, he's got potential. Fields, we know at least one part of his game is phenomenal, maybe the best in the league. And that's using those legs. And again, you don't want to have a quarterback who's running all the time because they always get beat up. But
I think
you don't have as much to work on as you might have.
I think a lot like many other young quarterbacks, he's got to learn when to not throw the ball and try not to force situations. He had 11 interceptions. There's people who had way more than him this year. But I think he could be one of these guys who throws 22 touchdowns a year and has 4 or 5 interceptions. I really do.
And there's 2 quarterbacks that have more interceptions than him that are in the playoffs.
Right.
Geno Smith had 11 interceptions, but he also had 30 touchdowns.
Right. Kirk Cousins had 14. Dak Prescott had 16.
I got to go, but I'll leave you with this question.
I was trying
to who's better, Justin Fields or Dak Prescott? There you go.
Dak Prescott. But
I'll
see
you guys next week.
All right. I'll tell Pete what I was going to say.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, I got 2 minutes to log on.
Go.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Whatchamacallit. So what I was trying to...
I think Dak's better too.
I do. I agree with that too. But what I was trying to say was Justin Fields, ESPN came out with their rankings, their quarterback ratings, total rankings from quarterback ratings. Justin Fields is number 17 out of 31.
It's not bad.
Jalen Hurts is number 4 out of 31. Right. Just the top 10 to give you. I'll go in reverse order. Joe Burrow is number 10. Lamar Jackson number 9. Jacoby Brissett, believe it or not, number 8. Daniel Jones number 7. Daniel Jones number 7. Geno Smith number 6. Jared Goff number 5. Jalen Hurts 4. Tua Tagovailoa 3. Josh Allen number 2, and number 1.
Chad Pennington.
Of course. Vinny Testaverde. No, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, Dak Prescott.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, Dak Prescott was 12. So there you go. But
yeah. Dak's been terrible the last few weeks. Most of the second half of the season, he's something's wrong with him. But whether or not it can be fixed before
Sunday,
before
they lose
Buccaneers, it's unlikely. That's why I picked the Buccaneers.
Somebody I heard this on a couple of the groups, people bitching and mouthing off and complaining and everything else. Somebody said, if the Cowboys lose on Sunday or Monday to the Bucks, that they should fire Mike McCarthy and hire Sean Payton. In fact, the way they said it was this is, it's closer if I paraphrase it. It's closer if I say it like this. If the Cowboys lose on Sunday, they should go all in or Sean Payton will be the next head coach. That's what the way they said it.
I would think that would probably be a very attractive job for him.
Probably. But I don't think it's going to happen because, Jerry Jones does get pissed off, but he's been not as pissed off. Look how long he sat with Redhead.
Yep.
For
look,
that many years, and then he got him to the playoffs. What is he? 12 and 4, 12 and 4, 12 and 5.
Yeah,
12 and 5. They went 12 and 5. He's going to fire a coach that went 12 and 5 in the regular season.
Right. That's the thing.
They went 12 and 5, but they lost in the first round of playoffs. You're out of here. Next one up.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
To the Buccaneers, who are a shadow of their former selves,
right?
Even though they have Brady,
right?
They're the only team in the playoffs under 500, and they're probably going to beat the Cowboys. Look, Peyton's. I think the latest two teams that he's been given permission to talk to are the Cardinals and the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he wants either one of those jobs.
I think he wants either one of those.
But if the Cowboys opens up, he might like that.
It's a different story.
He might like that.
So I got a couple of things here. We got Pro Football Talk came out with their final rankings for the year. Final grades or rankings. Yeah, their final rankings for the season. And there you go. I'll throw them up there. San Francisco, number 1. Buffalo, 2. Kansas City, 3. I'm just reading these for everybody on the listening to the audio. Eagles 4, Bengals 5, Vikings 6, Lions, who didn't even make the playoffs, 7, Jags 8, Cowboys 9. I don't know about that. Chargers 10, Steelers 11, Giants 12, Ravens 13, Bucks 14, Seahawks 15, Dolphins 16, Packers 17, Patriots 18. Browns 19, Commanders 20, and I might as well finish it up. Tennessee Titans 21, Panthers 22, Saints 23.
You don't have to do the last 12.
Jets 24, and then I wanted to get to the Jets. Jets are 24, and then 8 other teams.
Yeah, and then a bunch of other teams that are. Several of them are a little better than the Jets, actually.
There you go.
a couple of them. Maybe not several, a couple.
We'll share this on the Facebook page. You can take a look at it there if you want.
I listen, Kansas City's not getting much attention right now and not getting a whole lot of love. And
I mean, you can't ever sleep on them, right? As long as Patrick Mahomes is around. But
Very true. Very true.
so much I mean, that's if it's Buffalo and Kansas City in the championship game, that's a tough pick, man.
It is.
That's a tough pick. We're going to see if Buffalo's going to get over the hump this year. I'm not sure they are. I mean, not a whole lot of other stuff standing in their way. I mean, Cincinnati, right? That's
right.
About it, really.
Pretty much. But, I mean, well, let's look at the how does the playoff thing? I had it up here. Where did it go? I just had it. Oh yeah, it's right here. Hold on. Or maybe
is this not. The brackets?
The brackets. I'll just pull it up here. We'll do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Bengals, and you got Buffalo. Miami, I mean, I don't see them getting past this week without Tua. The Ravens, if Lamar can get actually healthy, then they can go on a little bit of a run. But
I mean, you look at it that way.
They're not going to the championship game, and the Chargers are the Chargers.
The Bills are going to wind up playing. Assuming the Bengals do beat assuming the Bills beat the Dolphins and the Bengals beat the Ravens, the Bills are going to play the Bengals.
Yeah,
and whatchamacallit, they're gonna so and it's, at that point, obviously, whether the Jags or the Chargers win, they're playing the Chiefs. Assuming the Chiefs obviously will be able to win that game. Who do you like beating? I mean, just looking ahead at that point. Because they're saying that if it's a Bills Chiefs AFC Championship game, it's going to be played on a neutral site,
right?
Because the Bills could have had the first,
right.
So,
but I mean that's not really. Actually, somebody was going over the numbers. I think it was a Dan Patrick show about NFL playoffs, and the home team doesn't really. They're like 500,
right?
Over the last, 10 years or whatever it is. So not really. But I mean, in other words, Buffalo, if you think Buffalo is, let's say, the best team in the AFC, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got the Bengals in their way, right?
Right.
Who does Kansas City have in their way, on the way to the championship game?
Either the Bengals or the Bills, I'd say at this point. Oh,
right,
on their way to
on
their way to the championship game. Yeah, they've got the Jags or the Chargers. The Jags or the Chargers.
The Jags are the Chargers,
unless the Ravens or the Dolphins win their games, because then they would. That's who they would play.
Right, but again, Baltimore not in the same league in my book as Cincinnati, and the Dolphins they don't stand a chance against the Chiefs. I don't think.
No, I don't believe so.
Even with Tua, they're not.
No matter what, for all intents and purposes, short of a just a really bad goof of a Sunday, the Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship game.
Right. Yeah. Anything. Of course, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Right. But
Buffalo can have a much tougher road.
Now, I was going to mention this with Harry, but he had a bail. But now, look, the Giants may very well lose on Sunday. I hope they don't. I hope they win. I think they can win. I think that my thoughts of the fact that they can win, I don't hold. I'm not alone in that thought. They have the talent and the team to beat the Vikings. They almost beat them in the regular season. I think they can. I think they can play a better game. I think they can win. So if they win, that means they're, no matter what, unless somehow the Seahawks beat the 49ers, which we know is not going to happen. But anything can happen. That means they're playing the Eagles in the divisional round.
Yeah.
The Giants' third stringers almost beat the Eagles' first string team.
Yeah, that's not a playoff game, though.
It's not a playoff game, and those first stringers are sitting for a week too. So
yeah,
And it's an NFC East game. Right?
It's a difficult road for the Giants, but I think
it's a difficult road for the Giants.
They'll beat Minnesota.
It's interesting to think about. Is all I'm saying. It's interesting. There's a road paved that maybe not well. It's got a few bumps in it. It's got a lot of bumps in it. Let's put it that way. But less than it probably should. That they could possibly get a couple games into the playoffs here. Now, I think honestly. I'll tell you this right now. I really don't see any team, Eagles included, beating the 49ers. I think this team is destined to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, if they can.
How long have I been talking about the 49ers? I've been saying it for 6 weeks.
Right.
They got healthy. The defense is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have Jimmy G.
Yeah.
And they don't need him.
Right. They don't need him.
Look, now Purdy's a rookie, right? What has he played? 5 games, 6 games, or whatever, if that.
I don't think it's phasing him. I really don't.
So far, no. I mean, you can get rattled in the playoffs.
Kyle Shanahan is putting him in the right position to do what he needs to do to win the game.
Yeah,
but he's not letting them loose and letting them run everywhere and letting them sling the ball downfield.
He's not the style. It's keeping him in check and keeping him doing what he can do. As far as the Giants go, look, whether they win or not, and I think they will. This is sort of like I'm not going to say the best ending for the Giants, but the best that you could hope for, right? They've got a playoff berth. They put some things together, and whether they win one game or not, they're going to the playoffs. And this squad with this coach and this GM and this
coaching staff and everybody else.
Coaching staff, thank you, is all going to have some playoff experience together. Right. Whether they will beat Minnesota or not. And that's a great thing to have because when was the last time they went to the playoffs?
6 years ago. 6 years ago after being on a boat.
Yeah. And that was, look, every team.
Every
team was an entirely different team 6 years ago.
Every team was
Giants, everything about the Giants was different 6 years ago.
I don't think there's, I mean, honestly, Sterling Shepard is the only.
Right.
And he's not playing.
Yeah.
Because he
win or lose against Minnesota, this will be a positive.
The owner is the same. That's about it.
Right. Yeah. The owner is Sterling Shepard. Was the remaining holdouts for the last playoff run.
Right.
So, but I think they'll beat Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
I think they'll, as much as I've been saying ride the hot streak, I think it'll be a close game and the law of averages catches up with everybody at some point. So why not the Giants?
This is true. All right. And I got
let me throw something at you here real quick. If I told you that at the beginning of the season, I bet you that 3 of the biggest names in football all end up at the same record, but only one of them goes to the playoffs. And those 3 names are Bill Belichick, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. Would you have taken that bet if I gave you 5-1 odds? Your $1,000 to my $5,000.
At the beginning of the season, you told me.
Beginning of the season, Brady, Belichick, i.e. the Patriots, the Buccaneers, and the Packers would all have the same record. But only one of them would
go to the playoffs. Would I believe you?
If I gave you 5-1 odds, would you bet me?
You know what? I might, but I would have believed that it was the Packers that were going to the playoffs.
And what would you have thought the record might be? Maybe
whatever
10 and something.
Yeah, something low, but yeah, because Belichick. I know he's Bill Belichick, but the Patriots are not what they were when 4 or 5 years ago and then back, right? The Buccaneers.
And other than the Bills, really, who were we expecting? Other than the Bills, who are we expecting to be challenging? Let's say the Patriots, right? We knew Miami was maybe going to be better, but Tua was still a question mark. His health, didn't expect the Jets to be that good. So you go, it's going to be Bills and the Patriots, right? In the AFC East, in that order, most likely. So 10 wins. That's reasonable.
Yeah. So and the Bucs, I could see them sliding. It's not in spite of Brady being there, because
Todd Bowles.
because of Todd Bowles, because of no Bruce Arians there and Todd Bowles and so forth and so on. So no Gronk for Brady to throw to.
Right.
So yeah, I would have.
Still, I would have more than 8 wins.
Okay. I'm focusing on the bet. All three of them have the same record, but only one would go to the playoffs. I would say that would be based on the division. Maybe it's 10 wins, and because of the division, I would say, okay, it's probably the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Or maybe
I don't think I would have taken it.
But
I don't think I would have taken it.
That's why I said maybe. I would have to think about that one for a minute. But I certainly would. My point is, I certainly wouldn't have believed that it was 8 and 9 under 500, and that somehow it would be the Bucks going at 8 and 9.
Yeah, at 8 and 9.
Because I thought the Falcons were going to have a little bit better of a season than they did, and I thought the Saints were going to have a little bit better of a season. So
yeah, Saints were kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but
all right, go ahead. What do you got?
All right, Houston beat the Colts, and the Bears jumped them. We talked about that for the first pick, right?
Yep.
Houston,
and somebody got fired.
Yeah, Lovie Smith got fired. But on that note, Houston has had 4 head coaches so you can see it behind me. 4 head coaches in the last 3 years. 4 head coaches in the last 3 years. Conversely, the Steelers have had 3 head coaches in the last 54 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was going to say a couple things about. Well, let me ask you that, because that was one of the topics of debate after the game. What do you do if you're the Houston Texans? Do you kneel down at the end of the game? Do you go for 2? Do you try and win? I mean, knowing you might lose the pick, can you be that obvious? Right? Because we've said, right, we had the guys who fell down before going into the end zone, or guys who didn't fall, who fell down too far, right? Wasn't the guy from LA who was the running back who accidentally fell into the end zone instead of stopping short? Yeah, we know him. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to remember his name. I can't remember Sam Darnold.
No, what's his? He went to Atlanta afterwards.
Myron Guyton.
Myron Guyton.
It started with a G, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Blaine Gabbert. No.
Blaine Gabbert. There you go.
But anyway, so
Todd Gurley. Todd
Gurley. There you go. So we had that, right? And you can go all the way back to like the Broncos Packers Super Bowl, right? Where they let him in the end zone at the end, so a little more time to get the ball back. And what do you do here if you're Houston? You lost the first pick.
I wouldn't have had them in a position to have to do that. I mean,
so you would have.
I mean, it wasn't. It's not like it's not like it was a 6-3 game. You know, I mean, what was the final score?
Let's see. Where are you? It was 32-31.
Yeah, 32-31. Yeah. So I would have. I wouldn't have had them in a position to have to do that. I would have made. I would have put in a couple other plays that. I certainly
maybe just kick it.
I don't know.
Kick it.
Well, you see, I don't want to. As a coach, I wouldn't want to let my players know that, hey, half of you are going to be gone next year. I'm probably going to be out of here. But I want you to, play worse than you are able to play, just so that the ownership and the new regime can have a better pick in the draft next year. I wouldn't want to do that to them. So the only thing I would possibly do would be put in a couple of plays that were a little questionable and throughout the game, and hopefully they wouldn't score. When it was 32-31 at the end of the game, it was 22-31 at the end of the game. So they scored points, but they didn't get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But, well, it cost Lovie Smith his job. So.
It cost Lovie Smith his job, and it cost them the first pick. Now they're see, here's the thing though. They need a quarterback. And Chicago doesn't. Chicago doesn't. So, whatchamacallit? They're obviously, if they don't take a quarterback, unless Chicago just takes a quarterback, that's true. But if they don't, they're going to move that.
They might have a shot, yeah.
They're going to move that pick to another team that, maybe he's picking in the teens, or maybe he's picking, a little higher anyway. Does Houston spend a ton of draft capital to move up one spot because they don't want another team that's maybe in the 8th or the 10th spot to take that pick from them? So there's a lot riding on that. So
yeah, see, that's the thing. If the Bears trade Fields, right, then they're going to take Bryce. What's his name? The quarterback. He's sort of the consensus first QB to go.
Bryce Petty.
No, Bryce. Is it Bryce? I think that's his name.
Is that his last name?
Flory. I want to say Flory, but I don't know if that's right.
Bryce Flory.
Anyway, Bryce Flory. Look up Bryce.
Jimmy,
Flory.
check on that.
So that means he will not be there for Houston with the number 2 pick.
Bryce Flory is a baseball player.
Okay, so
he played for the. He is a former Major League Baseball pitcher. He pitched for 4 teams: the San Diego Padres, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Detroit Tigers, and the Boston Red Sox. He's 52 years old. So probably not the guy you're thinking about.
I don't think the Bears are going to draft him. Probably not
unless
not the Texans either.
Well, he did have a year of eligibility left, so maybe he actually did go back and play.
Let me see. See if I can find his name here.
Bryce Young.
Maybe it's not Bryce who?
Bryce Young, Alabama.
Bryce Young. There we go. Oh, yeah. I'm getting better. I had half of it right.
Yeah.
So he's sort of a lot of people.
Let's see what Bryce Flory was. So
maybe he's the guy who's going to go first.
Right.
Here.
C.J. Stroud from Ohio State's not a bad pick either. So I mean, honestly,
yeah, he's tiny though.
Oh,
nobody wants him because
Deshaun Watson isn't too big either, and
yeah,
Houston
CJ
did pretty good with him.
Yeah, but C.J. Stroud's not Deshaun Watson.
That's true.
Put him in the right system and protect him. But
Anthony Richardson from Florida, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee.
Yeah, he's kind of the other guy that people are talking about.
Mm-hmm. So
and the guy from Michigan. The guy from Michigan? I don't know, somebody else. Anyway, they list them.
Cameron Ward from Washington.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I mean, if you're Houston, just, I don't know. Can't you just kick the extra point and be tied?
Right.
Instead of going for 2 and... No, anyway.
Well, either way, they would have lost the first pick.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. Well, no, if they...
Yeah, because they still would have one less loss. They would have been a half a game ahead of... Right? Hold on.
Right, but they could have lost in overtime, right?
They could have lost. Yeah, that's true. They could have lost in overtime. That's very true.
But then again, you would have had I guess you can't be too obvious about it. Is that what it is? Or you can get in trouble with the league, I guess.
They the Texans were 3-13-1, and the Bears are 3-14. So if they tied, they would have been 3-13-2. So they would have been 3-12-2.
3-12-2.
No, I take that back. They would have been 2-13-2. So yeah, they would have. You're right. If they tied, that they kicked the field goal, if they kicked it and or if they kicked the extra point and went to overtime and lost, fine. If they tied
or win the game, then they lose the pick.
No, if they tied the game, they would have, because I forgot they had that other tie. So they wound up being 3-13-1. Had they tied the game instead of winning it, they would have been 2-13-2, which means they would have had a worse record than the Bears. The Bears would have had 3 wins. They would have had 2, regardless of the ties. So.
Okay. So they really screwed up.
Yeah. So they could even tied the game. You're right on that one, but and it just odd, just really, really odd. On that note, I do want to say I mentioned the Steelers before. This is the 16th straight non-losing season under head coach Mike Tomlin. After how that team started, the Steelers started the year, they came back and wound up going 9-8, and had another non-losing season.
And yet somehow didn't make the playoffs at 9-8.
Right. And
other coaches who have been fired, at least right after the season, Nathaniel Hackett, of course, from Denver. So 15 games. Thank you very much. Get out. And Cliff Kingsbury.
Yep.
Gone from Arizona. The GM actually stepping out, at least temporarily, for health reasons or something. Doubtful he's going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, I heard this the other day, and I couldn't believe it. I had to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
With Cliff Kingsbury being let go, the Arizona Cardinals are still the only NFL team that has never had the same head coach for 100 consecutive regular season games in their history.
Yeah, it was something. I read something like that too. It was something like they have never had. Yeah, whether it was seasons or 3 seasons or 4 seasons or
Ken Wisenhunt coached them at 96 games, 2007 to 2012.
Yeah, they've never had a head coach.
Never had a head coach that coached them for 100 consecutive regular season games.
And the Cardinals are technically the oldest team in the league. They're one of the oldest teams in the league. But because the Cardinals actually formed before the Bears, both in Chicago, and the Packers formed the year before, but didn't join the NFL till after the Cardinals and the Bears were in the league. So technically, the Cardinals are the oldest existing team in the league, in the NFL, and they've never had a head coach that coached 100 games.
Yeah, a lot of losing records on this list too. So good luck to them trying to find somebody there.
There you go. Good luck to them.
Speaking of getting fired, in one of the greatest examples of hypocrisy, Bernie Kosar. Did you hear this?
I did not.
Bernie Kosar, before the last season game against the Steelers, right? Kosar, Browns legend, right?
Sure.
Tweeted out that he was putting down a bet. Kosar was number 19, and he does he's the color guy for I think it's the CBS
affiliate
Browns radio pregame show and maybe the postgame show.
Gotcha.
So, and he's of course a Cleveland legend and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was number 19. He tweeted out that he was going to bet $19,000 on the Browns to win. He was fired. Before the game, he was told that he would not be doing the game anymore, that game for the Steelers, and that his services would no longer be needed. Now he says, hey, I don't work for the league. I'm an independent contractor. I don't really work for the Browns even. And obviously betting is a thing now, right? It's not such a no-no anymore like it used to be. In fact, doesn't the NFL actually have a betting partner, right? Isn't like DraftKings the official betting partner of the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
But of course their rules are no one can bet. And the Browns said under the league rules, we had to fire him because anyone associated with the organization can't do any betting. So we had to let him go. So they didn't let him do the game, and then he's done, which I think is absolute hypocrisy because not only, as we just said, they're official betting partner, but it's all over everywhere. Everybody's doing commercials for it. Every radio station, the guys on TV, right? DraftKings is spending a huge amount of money on advertising.
Absolutely.
But God forbid a guy who has no effect over the game, who does radio commentary, Doesn't even work for the organization. But
and then loses
support for them, and then loses his job.
Loses his job, and then loses the bet.
And then loses the bet, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he actually, I got to steal this line because it was great. One of the guys on the Dan Patrick show said he had a parlay for the Browns to win and for them to get a new color commentator for next year. So he got it half right. But I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is hypocrisy.
It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Either if you're going to be against betting, now a coach betting, a player betting, or whatever, even somebody in the organization, I get it. Somebody's doing color commentary that doesn't actually work for the NFL.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
And it's a legal bet.
And it was legal. Everything about it was legal. I mean, if I don't know, maybe shouldn't have tweeted it. Maybe
he probably shouldn't.
Probably
shouldn't.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Or at least go. Oh, I was thinking about placing a bet. That way you can send the message without actually doing it. But anyway.
All right. The only other thing I had on the NFL was I just want to point out, and I meant to point it out before while Harry was still on, but Tom Brady is 7-0 in his career against the Cowboys.
It wouldn't.
And again, what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. But
no, you ride that wave, though. You ride the streak.
There you go.
The Cowboys, that combined with the fact the Cowboys' playoff history of late, like the last 30 years of late.
of late, last 30
Those
years.
two things combined equal a Tampa Bay win.
Right. Well, 30 years ago right now, they were winning the Super Bowl. But other than that,
Yeah, and then what after that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they won one more after that. But
they won.
Yeah. Let's listen. Could we see can you see Tampa Bay like in the championship game somehow? Just because it's Brady and they pull it together, and it almost has to happen, right?
Almost has to. Yeah.
Almost has to.
Well, we'll see. We will see.
All right. Should we do a little Are They For Real?
Let's do it. Are they for real? I got a couple things on the I wanted to throw out there for baseball. Just plant some seeds for a show for 2 weeks from now. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, doing Are They For Real? Let's
because I got all football. Are they for real? So let's do that, and then we can wrap up football.
There you go.
And then we'll talk a little bit about baseball. And there's some other sports that are going on, but
I heard. Yeah,
the NBA is actually a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly when you look at the way it's been the last couple of years.
This is true.
What is real?
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Pretty sure none of that's real.
You're not real.
For real, for real, for real. Yeah.
Are you for real? For real? For real? For real?
Are they for real?
What is real?
Righty. So, unfortunately, Harry's not here for his favorite segment of the show, but I will ask you, are they for real? This is the football edition. First up, Geno Smith.
No.
He's playing well. He's in the right system. Pete Carroll knows what he's doing, but he's not ready to blossom and blow up and be a really good quarterback for the next few years.
I mean, I always said, even back when he was on the Jets, that he's a better quarterback than he was, right? But I don't. And
he's not one of the elites.
He's not one of the elites. No, he's not. He's not going to blossom into that. Yeah.
This season he is, but he's not going to remain that.
No. He'll have some ups and downs, and he's not even going to be Russell Wilson in the in Seattle. He'll have another
except for this year.
Except for this year. Yeah. And is he even really Russell Wilson in Seattle when Russell Wilson was Russell Wilson? Right.
69%.
I mean, Russell Wilson isn't even Russell Wilson right now. So.
69% completion percentage, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And what was their record? Good enough to get in the playoffs.
Good enough to get in the
9-8.
playoffs. Yeah.
9-8 gets you in. So
there you go.
So it's partially the year, right? The down year as far as
I could be wrong.
Either you're 8-9 or you're 9-8 in the playoffs, or you're 4 and whatever. Right?
I could still be letting the whatchamacallit. I could still be letting the actually I'm going to do this really quick. I could still be letting the comments he made back when the Giants played the Seahawks back in week whatever it was 9 or whatever.
Maybe they're affecting your judgment.
Maybe they're affecting my judgment because he was an asshole for saying what he said. But
yeah, I think I said earlier, I think he's going to end up back on the Jets, and then he'll suck again. So
right. Well, that would make sense.
Enjoy your time now, Gino.
Right.
I don't think he's for real either. All right. Next up, we've asked this before. I'm going to ask it again because they beat the Packers. How many times this season? Twice. The Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Are they for real? Are they really up and coming? They just had a good year combined with the Packers' down year, and they look a little better than they are.
No, they're for real.
I think they are for real.
They're for real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who's their coach? Campbell?
Dan Campbell, yeah.
Dan Campbell, chewing on ankles and kneecaps and all that.
And all of that, right?
I remember that? We all went, what the hell is this guy? This is going to be a disaster. He's got him. He's got him nearly playoff bound. All right. Tampa Bay Bucks.
Hey, get that music back up. So.
There we go. Well, we were talking about them just a second ago. Are the Tampa Bay Bucks for real?
No.
They'll
be for real for another week. They'll be for real for another week.
To win.
Hey.
And then that's it.
And that's it.
All right. Last up, we talked at the beginning of the season. Bleacher Report put out their piece. Remember, the 7 most likely teams to disappoint in 2022. Remember that?
Yep.
So I'm going to go back over them, and I'll ask you if Bleacher Report is for real. They are the Cardinals.
These are the teams most likely
7 most likely to disappoint in this past NFL season.
Gotcha.
Cardinals, disappointing? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Colts, disappointing?
Yes.
Titans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of where we think they are, but a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, they
didn't
still
put up more of a fight.
Right.
But you could say, yeah, they're the Titans. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs. Instead
they should be walking away with the division every year kind of thing.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Patriots, disappointing?
Marginal.
Borderline, right?
Yeah.
Maybe expected Mac and Cheese to have a little better season after the sophomore slump, but...
Right.
Chiefs, disappointing? No. Packers, disappointing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with those rookie guys,
Mm-hmm.
they should have been better, right?
Yeah.
Cowboys, disappointing? You have to say no until they lose the playoff game.
Right, yeah. Ask Cowboys
basically where we are right now.
Ask yourself a week from now, and then we'll...
Yeah. I mean, they have how many wins? 12?
12.
So you can't call that disappointing.
No.
So Titans, borderline. Pats, kind of a disappointment, borderline. Chiefs, wrong. But Cards, Colts, Pack, Cowboys, no. So 3 out of the 7.
3 out of 7, yes. 2 borderline.
The Packers,
and
2. Yeah, 2. So
if you include the borderlines, they were 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7. So is Bleacher Report for real?
His Bleacher Report for real. Well, we're not sponsored by them at all, so
no, we're not.
I can be for real on what I feel about Bleacher Report, but
I don't care much for them. But they kind of got this one right.
You know what? I mean, there are some people that do some work at Bleacher Report that's decent, but other than that, I'm going to say nah. I mean, their ratings. I mean, they. You know what? Here's what I'm going to say. All right. If you go back before they came out with this list, and we talked about, forget about the marginals and obviously the 2 no's. The 3 ones that they got right, if you will, were the Cardinals, the Colts, and
the Packers.
Okay.
The Packers really the only going out on a limb.
Packers was going on a limb, but they lost Devontae Adams, and they had freshman wide receivers, and Aaron Rodgers, habitually hasn't played nicely with when he had to, you know, with right out of the gate anyway, with new personnel. He always had his stalwarts to
he didn't show up for the early camp, the mini camps or whatever, right?
Right.
You got rookies in there. You don't show up to get some extra reps or develop a rapport with them.
Right.
You show up regular training camp, right?
Exactly. So he always had his veterans he could throw to. Despite all of that, it's still a stretch for the Packers to reach. But the Colts and the Cardinals, honestly, we probably could have figured that one out, that they were going to be a disappointment this year too. After the whole Kyler Murray thing and read the book and learn the plays, you got homework to do, son, every night, you know, that kind of a thing. And the Colts on their 19th quarterback in the
never-ending
last 4
quest
years.
for QB, yeah.
We could have garnered that, you know.
All right, so Bleacher Report, you ain't for real, bite me.
No, Bleacher Report's not for real. They are not the Nostradamus of sportscasting.
They did a halfway decent job with this list, but they're not for real.
No, there you go.
Sorry.
There you go.
You have been weighed and measured and been found to be wanting.
And there you go. And,
all right, there we go.
Right.
That's, are they for real?
There you go. And on the back to Detroit really quick. I'm really now you know, like I'm a closet Packers fan, you know, and you know, after the Giants obviously, but I don't hate Detroit. In fact, there's always been like a soft spot for Detroit because my grandfather was a Detroit everything fan.
Yeah, how do you hate Detroit?
Yeah, not
unless you're a diehard, right? Packers fan. But even then, like, when was the last time Detroit was good?
The 30s.
I mean, maybe in the, the 80s.
The early 90s with Barry Sanders. That's when they were good. They made the playoffs in 91. They had a run to the playoffs.
Late 80s and the early 90s, I think they went to the playoffs like 2 or 3 times, right? But they never really were a threat to win anything.
They went to the playoffs, what, 5 years ago? I mean, they lost, but they haven't won a playoff game in that long. So, but last time they won a playoff game was 91.
What else did they do between then and now? Didn't they go 0-for?
Yeah, pretty much.
Didn't they almost go 0-for twice?
I know. They did.
So you know, unless your memory is really long, you just remember them being just this woeful franchise. So how do you not, unless you're a Packers diehard, how do you not have a little soft spot for?
Yeah, I mean, the last time they won a playoff game was, they got to the championship game in 1991. You know, they lost to the Redskins, who inevitably went on to beat the Bills.
Yeah, that's 2 decades ago.
But that was 3 decades ago. That was 31. That was 32. It was 31. 92, 91 the season.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
31
years ago.
31 years ago.
That's a lifetime ago.
Yeah, the last time they won a playoff game was 31 years ago. So,
hey, I'm rooting for them. Rooting for them.
I think they are definitely for real. So there you go. All right, that's are they for real? I'm gonna fade that out there. There you go. Cool.
Can I bring up one other football thing? It's a college thing.
Yeah, bring it up.
Since we're talking about football, because we didn't get to it. We were talking about the championship game, but
yeah, go for it.
Look, as I said before, anyone who's not Alabama who wins, I'm kind of rooting for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, a true dog in the college football fight, so I'm happy when it's Georgia. I know the SEC is. I think I heard they were like 10-1 in semifinal games or something since the modern BCS or whatever.
Right.
But I gotta wag my finger at Georgia a little bit. I want to go over their next year's schedule with you.
Hit it.
Now we know what happens, right? The rich get richer, and it happens in not just monetarily, but you padding your schedule and this and that, right? Making it a little bit easier for you to at least be in the hunt for the national championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the Georgia football schedule, the Bulldogs for next season. They open up Saturday, September 2nd against the UT Martin Skyhawks.
Fair enough.
UT, I assume, stands for University of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But not the University of Texas. It's the University of Texas Martin.
Right.
Which is not in the same league.
Not so much.
Next week is Ball State.
Okay.
They're not that good. Next is the South Carolina Gamecocks. That should be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, September 23rd, they take on Alabama Birmingham. Not Alabama.
Not Alabama. Alabama Birmingham.
They take on the University of Alabama Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we take on the University of Texas.
Right. Then after that, they go to Full Sail Recording School.
Now, by the way, those 4 games are all at home. They have 7 home games and 5 away games scheduled for next season, which doesn't seem right.
Seems fair, right?
So those
maybe one of the teams they're playing doesn't have a home stadium. So.
Maybe. So they're 4-0.
Right.
Saturday, September 30th, they finish out the month by taking on the Auburn Tigers at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not quite what they have been of recent.
They're not Georgia. So.
But that might be maybe a semi-competitive game. First Saturday, October, Kentucky Wildcats at home. Okay, that's fun. Then they take on the mighty Vanderbilt Commodores. Then they have a week off after that bruising first 7 weeks.
7 games. Oh.
They're like, we got to take a break here.
We need to
take on Vanderbilt, for Christ's sake.
Go on vacation after that.
So they take a week off. Then they come back the end of October and into Jacksonville to take on Florida. Florida's a shell of themselves, too. So then November against Missouri. That's at home. Old Miss. That's at home.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe the most respectable game on the schedule is Tennessee. And that's in Knoxville.
There you go.
And then they finish up Saturday, November 25th against Georgia Tech. At home. No, I'm sorry. No, that's
an away game?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Atlanta. Yeah. Bobby Downs Stadium.
No, they're not playing Burton Community College at all in there, right?
That might be one of their warm-ups.
Gotcha. Right.
Well, that's if Georgia Tech bows out.
No, I thought they played Iona if Georgia Tech. Yeah.
That could be Iona or Rutgers, maybe, or perhaps Fordham.
Right. Well, Rutgers.
I mean, now here's the thing:
Rutgers would be better than half of those games.
Rutgers would be better than a bunch of these. So we're joking about this, but this should not, in all seriousness, this should not be allowed to happen.
No.
You know, the NCAA needs to do something that maybe these schedules should be submitted for approval. I mean, there's going to be calls about bias, but you can't. I mean, this is just a fucking walk to a 12-0 schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a 12-0 record. And you're already the defending champs. There has to be some mechanism put in place to keep this kind of crap from happening.
Yeah. Why aren't they? I mean, I know it's all about the league you're in. I get that, but you know, they really should be playing, you know, the powerhouse schools. I mean,
now because you have a playoff, it's not up to the writers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the SEC already rules college football with an iron fist. So now you're going to let this happen and go, well, they're definitely going to be one of those 4 teams, even if they somehow, if the team gets ptomaine poisoning before, let's say maybe the Tennessee game, and only their third stringers are available, and they actually lose that one. There's no way they're going to lose enough games to not be one of those. Well, it's going to be 8 teams next year too,
right? Yeah,
right. There's no way they're not going to be one of those 8.
It's going to be an extra week of playoffs. Yeah, there's going to be
right, which is even more reason why this ought to be outlawed. So I'm going to say it right now. I will not be rooting for Georgia next year because I understand teams do.
You know who I'm rooting for?
This is ridiculous. I'm rooting for
UT Martin.
I want to see UT Martin or Vanderbilt in the top 8.
There you go.
So, so sorry, Georgia. You're losing my allegiance next year. I know you're broken up about it, but schedule somebody for Christ's sakes.
We should do a college football kickoff show like in August. You know,
we should.
Like for the regular show, I'm saying, instead of, like, instead of talking like, I mean, it's the dog days of baseball when we get there. So there's not a lot of baseball talking about. There's no hockey. There's no basketball. Football is still in preseason. We should really do one of those Wednesdays in August. We should really do a college football kickoff kind of show.
It would be amusing. It would certainly be amusing.
Yeah, I think we should do that. So,
cool. All right, that's all I have for football.
All right. Briefly, not a whole hell of a lot going on baseball wise, just the whole Carlos Correa debacle with the Mets.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you and Harry our question. Will he actually play for the Mets next season? Yes or no?
Carlos Correa?
Yeah.
Well, he signed with Minnesota now.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. You didn't see that yesterday?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I haven't been paying attention at all to baseball.
Minnesota.
So the Mets. So there is something wrong with him, and the Mets said nope.
Yep. But the Mets offered. Here's what actually wound up happening. The average annual value that they were giving him for the 12 years at $315 million. Right. They gave him that same average annual value for 6 years. So they basically just cut the contract in half. But they said they will go up to his 315 for years 7 through 12.
Right.
But he has to take a physical each year, and he has to pass the physical.
Ooh.
If he doesn't pass the physical, it voids the contract and off he goes. If he does pass the physical, he gets that year. And then the next year he's got to take another physical. And Scott Boras didn't want to have anything to do with that. Neither did Carlos.
Honestly, that's
well, something else I heard too is you heard the deal that, the whole thing is with his ankle and the surgery he had back in 2014. There's a metal plate in his ankle. Yeah. There's a metal plate in his ankle. He slid into third base or slid somewhere or whatever last year, and he said, he was quoted as saying he had a tingling feeling in his ankle that lasted a while that he's never felt before. Right, and it's in that surgically repaired ankle with the metal plate in it. So that, coupled with the fact that nobody knew he had the damn metal plate in there until they did the physicals. That's what caused it. Look, here's the bottom line. Steve Cohen said that he will do whatever it takes to win a championship, but the one thing he's not going to do is he's not going to spend money like a drunken sailor when he shouldn't be spending the money. So they sat down,
like on a guy with a metal plate in his ankle,
right? So they sat down and figured, okay,
it's nice that he has a line to draw,
right,
in the sand,
right. So they sat down and they figured, okay, well, it's the length of the contract, right? It's not the amount of money.
They're thinking he's going to get through the first 4 or 5 years, and he's going to break down. So we'll make him take a physical every year, and then when he can't play anymore, when he can't pass the physical, we just cut him.
Right. So that 6 years that they gave him at the average annual value was $157.5 million. All right.
So what did Minnesota give?
That's half of 315, 157.5.
Right.
This was half the time. Minnesota gave him 6 years, but they gave him $200 million. So they gave him $42.5 million more. Right.
Good for them.
Right. For the same 6 years. Now, the contract, the vesting options can get him up to 10 years. Excuse me. But it's based on his plate appearances the year before. So if he has 600 plate appearances in year 6, then he gets his contract in year 7. If he has 550 plate appearances in year 7, he gets his contract in year 8. If he has 500 plate appearances in year 8, he gets his contract in year 9. That kind of thing. So that's how that works.
Well, it's assuming he can get through airport security and get to the ballpark on time.
Right.
But could you go back and then step through the metal detector again? I don't have my watch on.
But you know what?
I took the chains off. Glasses. Go back. Beep. Go back and Do you have a metal plate in your head? Oh, it's in my ankle.
It's my ankle, right?
I didn't. I usually don't tell people about it because they don't want to pay me. So,
but here's the thing. Look, I wish him well. 3 years ago, he was a great player. He's not as great a player. He's better than good. He's not as great as he was, but he's a solid, great.
He's a guy you want on your team.
He's a guy you want on your team, right? Now, I wish him well. I wish him all the luck. But take your $42 million. Now, that $42 million isn't in one shot. That $42 million is over 6 years, right? So it amounts to $7 million more a year. That's a lot of money. I get it. All right.
Yeah.
But go up to Minnesota, be cold, hang out up there, finish third every year, enjoy your money. You know?
Yeah, get to the playoffs and lose in the first round like you always do, like Minnesota always does. So
right. So, but and as Mets fans, we really can't say much more than that either, because the best we've done is the same thing. You know, but our upside is a lot better than the Twins right now. So, but the bottom line is,
I don't hate the Twins though. But
I don't hate the Twins. I don't. I love the city of Minneapolis, and I love the stadium's great. The Target Field is beautiful. But I enjoy watching games there. But what I will say is this: we really didn't need him. We needed his bat.
Yeah,
and that was even questionable.
You're gonna jinx us now.
And that was questionable.
Don't jinx us.
No. I'm not being specific about players. I'm just saying we have teams. You know, what I wanted him there, absolutely over what we had. Yes, absolutely, right. But it's not like we got nobody there.
No,
you know what I mean?
We still need a bat.
Right. So they're talking about signing Andrew McCutchen for that bat.
Isn't he like 45 now?
Oh, he can swing a bat. He can be a DH. So, yeah. But no, he's in his I was 35, 36 maybe. And there's another name resurfaced that was in the Mets signing lore a couple of years ago. We did a podcast about him screwing the Mets.
Who?
People are calling for the Mets to sign Trevor Bauer.
Oh, yeah. That's a good move.
Because he was released from the Dodgers, and they're paying him his salary, so it would cost the Mets $750,000 to sign him for a year. That's it.
Yeah, but he hasn't
pitched in almost 2 years.
Yeah. So
well, I'm sure he has pitched every day.
Yeah, but he's not. No, he's done.
I wouldn't do it either. I want him on the team.
McCutchen's 36.
36, yeah.
So October 10th, he'll be 37.
Take a 1-year flyer on him, give him a decent deal, bring his bat into the team.
You know what? That's probably not. Yeah, I would probably do that. I mean, he was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was one of the, at times, kind of the only bright spot for some of those Pirates teams.
Exactly. So, all right.
Now that's baseball, folks.
And that's baseball, folks.
Bye-bye, Carlos. Enjoy the cold.
Enjoy the cold. So I'll give you an address of a couple of breweries you can hit up there. They're pretty freaking decent. So. A couple of good guys up
there.
Right. All right. Do we you got anything you want to talk about as far as basketball goes?
Listen, the Boston and the Nets and probably the Bucks are going to be fighting it out, right? Sixers are right there. Interesting. I was talking before, things are interesting. Miami is, in the 8th spot right now. This is not including tonight's games. The Knicks are hanging around, right? Want to see them in the playoffs.
I don't want to.
Out west, this is what I love. This was heading into tonight's game, so I don't think this is not indicative of updated with any action this evening. Denver and the Memphis Grizzlies. Almost identical records heading into tonight's play. 27-13. Denver's got a 7-3 in the division. Memphis 5-2 in the division. Both 17-3 at home. both 10-10 on the road,
Mm-hmm.
both 2-0 in overtime, both 8-2 in their last 10.
Mm-hmm.
Denver was on a 3-game winning streak heading into tonight, and Memphis a 7-game winning streak. That to me is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
That's pretty damn good. Yeah.
And the Pelicans are only a couple games back. And then you look and you go, well, geez, where are the Lakers? And the Lakers are down. Portland has fallen off the map. Utah is 10th. Golden State is 8th, still hanging around. Phoenix, right? So good. You can't keep it going forever, but 7th place heading into tonight's action. So interesting NBA season.
Very interesting. And
I'm just waiting for something to go wrong with the Nets because...
Well, I mean, it has already, right? I mean, Durant's out for a month with his sprained MCL. So, there's that.
They'll probably be able to hang around.
They can hang around. They're not going to lose much ground, if any. So, they're. Hey, we'll see. And I mentioned it to Harry before. I was like that Knicks lost the other night. I mean, they blew a 18-point lead in the third. And I mentioned to Harry before you came on, before we started the show, and he says, I'm over the Knicks. I says, yeah, that's good. That's all right for you. You got Denver to watch.
Yeah, right. You got the number one team in the West in the backyard. So,
right.
Listen, I just don't expect too much from the Knicks. They should be around. They should hang around. They should get in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not the play-in playoffs, but
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if Cleveland and Indiana are going to be there, at the end of the season.
Right. So, I mean, they could bump up a couple of spots. They could drop down a couple of spots. I think they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, are they going to be? They could be as high as 5th. I think they could be as low as 10th, but I think they'll be in there.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, look, again, all these teams are. Like the bottom 5 teams are separated by 2, 3, 4 games, right? The Knicks are a couple games like Atlanta and Chicago. They're at heading into tonight. They're at the bottom of the playoff list, right, for the East.
Right.
So, but only a couple games under 500. But so it's just you can't say anybody's out of it at this point. But the Knicks should be there. They should be there. That's all you can hope. They should be a team you hope they get in, and then they get a little bit hot. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, we talked about the moves they made and the moves they didn't make. They didn't do anything to propel them into the top 4 spots.
No.
But they could be, 5 or 6 or 7.
Right. Well, we'll see. As we get closer. Oh, I forgot to do that before we talked about it.
What?
There we go.
Oh, it's
the background up there. And
yeah,
hockey teams played.
There are games going on and goals being scored.
Did you see at the Ranger game? I guess it was last night.
I did not.
Whatchamacallit? Henrik Lundqvist was there with he was sitting with Ryan Reynolds and I forget his name, the other actor that he was sitting between the two of them at the game. So everybody's speculating, does that mean that Henrik Lundqvist is getting involved in acting, or does that mean that they're gonna they want to form a group to buy the Ottawa Senators?
Oh, could be.
There you go.
Or maybe he's going to be a celebrity spokesman for Mint Mobile.
Maybe Ryan Reynolds
they're
wrangling him up.
Yeah,
they're wooing Henrik to do a Mint Mobile spot. There you go.
Yeah, they're going to go with the athlete endorsement advertising route.
There you
or
go.
It could be all 3.
Could very well be
killing three birds with one stone there.
All right.
I think that's about it.
I think we're good. You agree?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then
I got nothing else.
I know. We got to put it back to football because that's how we end. There you go. So on that note, we'll wrap the show up for today. I want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch all of the playoff football action this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and enjoy it all. And, of course, all the basketball and hockey as well. And I'm sure there's going to be more hot stove baseball coming up because we're about 5 weeks away from 4.5, 5 weeks away from pitchers and catchers. So, hey, got a lot going on. So enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.